Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the update preview stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Artemis, Shadow, and Cobalt. Say hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
So, what do we have going on today? Well, some exciting stuff afoot. We are on the aux 2 branch, and the industrial system is live on that branch. We are going to be going through everything going on in that system, how it can support you and your group when it comes into the game in early February, and all that good stuff. As always, if you have questions as we're going through this stuff, please do at shadow_rustified in chat, and we will get to as many questions as we have a chance to. Also, real quick with server wipes, if you're wondering when are wipes today, well, for Rustafied servers, it's at the regular scheduled time, which now is 3 p.m. local time for the region. We did move that wipe time for the new year 2 hours up to give players a little more time on wipe days to play. So the EU servers wiped, I'm so used to saying an hour ago, but now it's 3 hours ago. AU SEA wiped like 12, 13 hours ago. BR is going to wipe in right now, maybe? Or no, in an hour. Shit, I didn't get the stuff flat in my head totally. And then US wipes in 2 hours. There we go. I'll get this. Give me a week or two. I'll get used to the new schedule, just like everyone. But yeah, 3 p.m. local time for the region is when the Rustified servers are wiping now going forward for any Thursday or Monday that isn't a forced wipe. And the servers today wiping are just the weekly Thursday wipe servers. That's your mains, your smalls, your barons, your EUS in EU, and your Zen Labs. And that's what we got going on. Now, let's get into this industrial system here. What is going on with this industrial system? Well, first and foremost, it's on aux 2, which, if you're not familiar, that's like the bleeding edge of development. That's where they're putting stuff that's just coming hot off the presses from a separate branch and where it can initially be tested for public consumption. And now aux 2 was not available to the public for a while until last week when they opened it up for players to get in and start testing out this new industrial stuff. That's all to say this is still a work in progress. As we've been testing this throughout the week, every morning almost we wake up and we see new things added, things changed. And so as we go through this, please do take all of this with a grain of salt, because as with all this stuff, but even more so than normal, this is all subject to change. There's still a couple weeks of development for this system before it goes live in the game. And the team, as I said, is developing actively and changing and adding and improving and fixing things every single day. So we're going to go through the basics of this, and we have some examples set up for you here to show off kind of what utility can be provided through this industrial system. Personally, I think this is a game changer. This is awesome in my mind. I'm really excited to see this go live in the game because it enables players and groups to have quality of life and automation in ways never before possible. And I think we've hardly even scratched the surface on what's available and possible with this industrial system right here. This is like some pretty basic examples, but they provide a lot of utility, a lot of quality of life, a lot of benefit. So we're going to go through. I'm going to start by just kind of giving you an overview of each component that has been added for the industrial system, and then you'll kind of see how they all work together. But the overarching thing here is that the industrial system allows for automation on a level we've never before seen in bases. It allows for players to automate transferring of items, crafting of items, and smelting of items, and even more than that. So, first and foremost, we have the industrial conveyor. And this is kind of the engine of the entire industrial system because this is the thing that moves items from one place to another. And so, in its most simple example, you can basically have one box on the outside of your base and run a conveyor between that and a box on the inside of your base in like your loot room. And you can just drop things off on the outside of your base, and the conveyor will take them into the depths of your base to protect them. That's like the most basic version of the conveyor, or a very basic version of the conveyor. But then it gets more interesting than that because you can set up filters for specific items or categories on the conveyors. And on top of the filters, so you can say, like, only move stone if it's put in here and you see stone, only move that inside or things like that. But on top of that, you can set min and max amounts. So the min amount, it says basically you'll only start transferring these items if there's this amount in the input box or more. So you could say only transfer inside if I got 1,000 stones in this box, then transfer it inside. I don't know why you would do that, but you get what I'm coming from. And then there's also the max, which is the uh, number you can set to stop transferring when the destination container has this many. So you could say if the destination container has 10,000 stones, well, don't send any more because that's enough stone for that container. Once again, not a great example, but I hope you get the world of it. And now this conveyor is not just a engine and a go-between for boxes. It actually, with the addition of the adapters that I'll get into in a minute, allows you to hook up any number of items that have existed in Rust for a long time to inputs and outputs using conveyors and filters and electricity. So basically, you can set up all sorts of movement of items from a box to a furnace, from the furnace to another box, from a box to an auto crafter, even from a box to a furnace to the auto crafter, to a box in your loot room to a locker. Like the steps you can do are really robust and really dynamic. So the sky's really the limit with this stuff. Now, the crafting costs and the specifics of these items, I think, is still likely to change and up in the air. But as it stands now, an industrial conveyor is 150 metal frags to craft, 30 seconds. It's 20 scrap to research and requires a workbench level 1. And you basically just, um, pop it on the wall and hook up the input and output. Now, next we have industrial crafting, and this is the industrial crafter specifically. And this is an item that attaches to workbenches, and you can attach to any level of workbench. And then what it does is allows for the crafting of any items that that workbench level or any level below it allows. So it's pretty simple to set up. You just place the crafter on the workbench, you supply it with power. By the way, the industrial crafter, as you'd expect, does require power. Also, the industrial conveyor does require power. The power amounts right now still seem to be a work in progress, but electricity is required for some of these items, including the conveyor, the crafter, and the electric furnace. But back to the crafter, basically, you put it on the workbench and supply it with power. And then using the industrial equipment, you can set up an input and an output. And then you basically make a blueprint, or you supply it with a blueprint that you have. And you get the blueprint from a research bench just with scrap and researching the item. Uh, but it looks like maybe some things with the blueprints are still being worked out. There might be another way to obtain blueprints just for the industrial crafter. There was some haziness in the commits, and I'm not really sure if this is its final form or we're going to see some tweaks with how the blueprint works. The other thing is there's a blueprint input and output for the industrial crafter, and we're not really sure how that's going to function, but it looks like where we're going to is more ability to automate what you're crafting when, and potentially being able to feed in not only the resources but the blueprint to a crafter given certain circumstances, have it craft those things, and then maybe swap it out. So it's an interesting thing. But the long and short is you give it a blueprint, you give it the resources to craft whatever that blueprint is, and providing it's attached to the right level of workbench, then you can flip the power on and it'll just start crafting that stuff automatically and spitting it out. Now, also, we have the electric furnace. And the electric furnace operates just like a normal furnace does, but instead of using wood for the fuel, it uses electricity. And instead of producing charcoal from the wood, it doesn't produce any charcoal. But you can turn it on and off with electricity, and you can hook up these adapters to the furnace as well and basically supply it power and hook up the input and hook up the output, and you can basically automatically run your resources through this electric furnace. uh, and yeah, like you couldn't do before. Real quick, the industrial crafter currently, to craft one is 3 high quality metal and 1 tech trash. Once again, this is probably gonna change. I think a lot of this may be placeholder amounts. So once again, grain of salt. And with the industrial, or I'm sorry, the electric furnace to craft it, it's 200 stone, 100 wood, and 50 low grade. It's a default blueprint and 30 seconds to craft, and it doesn't require a workbench. So that's three of the main items. And each one of those, the conveyor, the crafter, and the electric furnace, all require electricity. Now, to tie all these things together, you see these pipes everywhere, right? And that's where the pipe tool comes into play. And the pipe tool is basically just like the equivalent of the hose tool or the wire tool, but it's for the industrial stuff. And it's a little bit thicker pipes and everything because the idea is it's actually the thing feeding the items through. So this is where all the items are going to travel through. This is how you're going to link each adapter, each object in the industrial system up to each other. And it works just like the hose tool and the wire tool, pretty much exactly the same. You can go through walls. You can do, it looks like a max of 30 meters. And for ease of management, you can also hold R and change the color of pipes. So you can actually have some color coding on your pipes. It looks like there's like 4 colors, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
cool.
so.
And that's a default blueprint. It's 2 high quality metal to craft that pipe tool, and 1 second to craft doesn't require a workbench. And then next we have the storage adapter, and this is kind of the universal adapter. This is the go-between all the deployables and objects like large wood boxes, furnaces, tool cupboards, fridge, lockers. It's the go-between between all that stuff and this industrial system stuff. So basically what you do is you get a storage adapter. It's 3 high-quality metal, 1 tech trash at the moment. Once again, subject to change, but you get that adapter and you place it on any one of these deployables. And the adapter has an industrial in and an industrial out. And so that's basically the thing. It makes sense they call it an adapter, right? Because it's that thing that attaches to the box or the furnace or the tool cupboard that allows you to then pipe in all the other industrial stuff. So this can be deployed as it stands. The storage adapter can be deployed on large wood boxes, small wood boxes, small furnaces, large furnaces, electric furnaces, tool cupboard, drop box, fridge, locker, vending machine, small oil refinery, and coffins. So you can put this adapter on a whole bunch of things. And then that, once again, is basically the thing that allows you to hook it up to the rest of the industrial system and pull items out of it or put items into it, so to speak. Next, we have the industrial splitter. And this is just what it sounds like. It basically takes an output pipe to be split into 3 pipes. You can rotate it with R. And the idea with this is that you could basically uh, do a bunch of stuff to split up. You could set up, say, box filtration by, say, you had one drop box and you have an adapter on that drop box. Then you can take the output of that adapter to a conveyor and set filters on that conveyor and then basically send that to a splitter. And long and short, you can set up filtering of boxes. So you could drop all your resources like stone, wood, or in one drop box, and then using a conveyor and a splitter and then feeding to other boxes in your base, you could then have one box in your base where all the wood goes, one box in the base where all the stone goes, and all that done automatically with you just dropping it mindlessly in one place at the front of your base, so to speak. Now we also have the industrial combiner, and this is basically the inverse of the splitter. You can just take 3 inputs and turn it into one output. And that could be used to uh, have some secure drop boxes that all of which go into one box, say deep in your base, so to speak. So that's kind of the final piece of the new items in the industrial system. And what you can see with this is that it really opens up the opportunity to do a whole slew of different things. And we have a couple different examples here that the team has put together. Of course, it's not exactly how you would do it in vanilla gameplay, but just to kind of give you a preview of how this works and what you could do with it. So I don't know. Do one of you guys want to show off some of these examples and describe what we're doing here and what can be done with this industrial system?
Yeah, sure. Cobalt, you want to go left to right and have a little
Yeah,
explain?
I'll just start down on this side down here. Um, so for this example, it's just a large box outside of a sealed tool cupboard, and it is just moving the resources required to maintain upkeep into a sealed tool cupboard through a wall. So essentially, you don't ever have to go touch the tool cupboard again.
Yeah, providing everyone you want is authorized on it, you could lock it up wherever you want with no access to it, and then just pipe in the resources that you need.
Yep.
Correct.
Just keep a bag there.
Moving down, this is a simple auto smelter. So I have three different boxes, one with wood, one with sulfur, one with metal. And it will move the resources out of the box into a conveyor and then, into different splitters and combiners and puts them into the furnaces. And after the furnaces are done cooking it, it will move the cooked resources out and into a finished box over here. Oh,
Yeah, this shit is blowing my mind, really. Like what you can do with this. As we were testing it, I was like, and realizing the expansiveness of this, the dynamicism of this new functionality. It's really a game changer. I can't stress that enough. But sorry, Cobalt, go on.
yeah. I was just going into I mean, there's a lot of conveyors and splitters and combiners and stuff, and I don't think it's probably super important to go into the intricacies of how I built this, but it's to show that things are very possible with this. Um, I'm gonna move on to the next one. Is this one I found really interesting. It kind of shows off that you can have 16 boxes daisy chained with the adapters into one conveyor. And in this conveyor, I set it to only pull out specific items. So these boxes can just be just a complete mess of resources, items, tools, weapons, whatever. It doesn't matter what's in them. But then when you hit this switch over here, it will pull out a full kit for you of a hazmat suit, weapon, ammo, and stuff like that. So if Artemis wants to show that,
For sure. There we go.
yeah. So it's just you don't even have to organize your boxes. You can just say I want a kit of this stuff, and boom, there you go. And this shows that like you could have this loot room type of situation like deep inside the base, and then on the way out you just hit a button to get your kit to leave.
Yep, that's pretty nuts.
Yep, that's awesome. And here is the. Oh, excuse me. There seems to be a helicopter going over where I am. So similarly here, it was again to organise the kits. The only side to this specific example is that it won't organise the kits for you in the lockers. But it could be applied to anything really. It's the fact that you have you could have your items being crafted and then input into these boxes in the first place, and again set up the filters that the lockers basically fill up with kits. And when you take items out of the lockers, they'll be replenished. So there's always full kit.
And of course, these lockers could be like in an easily accessible place in your base. And then all the items it's pulling from could be deep in storage in your base in a much more secure location.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that.
And do we have another example to show off, or was that all of them?
Kids, yeah, there's one more. So here we've basically got auto crafting of meds, which is what I think we was touching on earlier, using the auto crafter. So again, you can feed it resources here. Oh, let me just grab some. But you could go as deep as actually filtering a box that you're just dumping everything into. You wouldn't even need to be this sort of specific with your box. I've just put the items in, and then and then if we look in here, it's set to make meds. and it's joined to this box here. So yeah, the possibilities are pretty endless, to be honest.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like what I'm thinking of is if you've ever been in a group or not even in a group, but you're getting ready to go out and roam and you're in your loot room and you get geared up and everything like that. And then you go out and you close the 20 plus doors in your base to make sure
Right.
you're all closed up. You get out to your front external gate, you open the gate, and then you look down and you say, oh man, I forgot my syringes. Then you got to go open 30 friggin' doors again, get into your, go grab a couple syringes and then close 30 doors again. I don't know how many times that's happened to me. But now with the system, you could basically just have uh, drop boxes towards the entrance of your base and set up the filters where there's nothing crazy expensive that's going to be there. Like if someone were to raid it, it's not going to be the end of the world for you. But convenience wise, if you forget something or you're just grabbing something to go, you can have all that stuff automatically fed there, automatically replenished there. And you don't have to go all the way into the depths of your bases anymore, you know, to
Exactly.
grab them.
And also prep time for anything now, even roams and things. You haven't got to wait around. Make sure you've got enough resources to go out, especially if you're a bigger group that usually needs a few to go on a roam. You can make sure it's all crafted and waiting for you when you come back.
Yeah, yeah, and the expansiveness of this is really astonishing because with enough crafters and enough conveyors and enough filters and everything like that, you could really set up a base with this where you go out and gather the raw resources, drop them in a drop box at the front of your base. They're automatically sucked into your industrial system, smelted, and then it with that it crafts the like baseline required items that you would want, you know, your kits or whatever, and it's all automated. And then all that crafted stuff can be fed into lockers right at the front of your base as well, and all automatically. Now, of course, it's going to take, you know, something to set up the system in your base. It's going to take resources to pipe everything and get all the industrial stuff set up properly. But once you do, then the quality of life that you have is much better than before. You don't have to waste so much time crafting and organizing and doing all this stuff in the base. You set it up once and then it just works. So, really, I can't stress enough what a game changer this is. And not just for large groups, of course, because smaller groups and individuals could use this to save themselves time in crafting and everything like that. So, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what people do with this. And once again, I feel like we're only scratching the surface on what's possible here. I feel like a lot of other things are going to be done with this and used to create things that we're not even thinking of yet. But it is a very interesting system. And once again, this is slated to come in for the February 2nd update. And so we got another couple weeks of development and tweaking and adding. And what we're going to do here is we've got on rustafied.com, I've got a post that we put together, which is just an overview of all the industrial stuff. My plan over the next couple of weeks is as they add things and tweak things, I'm going to just keep updating that article so you can have it as a resource throughout the month to check up on. And then prior to this all going live on February 2nd, we'll make sure that article is updated and we have a new post that basically gives you all the information you as a player need to know about this industrial system prior to it going in the game. Now, I'm sure we have some questions from the audience, so I want to just take a moment to pause and open it up. Shadow, any questions?
Yeah, we do have some, not a lot actually. I thought there would be more. But let's start with when is Web?
So WIP is at regular scheduled time for the region, which now is 3 p.m. local time for the region. We made that change with the new year. We did a vote at the end of last year and decided to switch it to 2 hours earlier from 5 p.m. to 3 p.m. local time for the wipes on not force wipe days. It's closer to the 2 p.m. wipe time for force wipe days, and it gives players an extra 2 hours of gameplay time on wipe day. So that's when wipes are happening. That means the EU servers wiped 3.5 hours ago. I had mentioned BR before BR servers wiping, but I totally goofed. We closed down our BR region with the new year, and I want to touch on that briefly. If you're not familiar, we were struggling with hosting for most of last year. The host we were with out of Sao Paulo wasn't up to speed and then went out of business. We got with a new host that was shipping hardware down to Sao Paulo. It got stolen. Then the second package got stuck in customs. And as we got into 2023, we were looking at that region, and there was no end in sight to providing a good host actually in that region. We had been hosting out of Texas for the past like 6 months, and we just cut our losses and said, okay, sorry, but we're going to close BR down. So it's still fresh in my head. I'm still used to reporting on BR wipes, but BR has closed down for the new year, and that's one of the changes we decided to do. And apologies to any Latin American players who are impacted by this. We did really try our best, for literally a couple years to get that region tip top and running well, and it just, the infrastructure down there and everything else just didn't allow for it. So I do appreciate your understanding with that. But yeah, and then back to wipe times, US servers will wipe in an hour and a half. And the servers wiping today are the weekly Thursday wipe servers. So that's your mains, smalls, Baron, and Zen Labs.
Thank you, Bugs. Do we know if this will be on all servers or will it be on dedicated servers like hardcore?
This is slated to go live in vanilla Rust. So as it stands, it's going to be live in every community vanilla server, and it will also subsequently get added, I believe, then to the modded servers. And I believe it should be live on hardcore as well. Although I'm not positive about hardcore. We'll have to look into that over the next week or so. I'll let you know.
Are we able to auto feed ammo to turret SAM sites as well?
Not at the moment. We had that thought, and with this system, it would make sense to have some sort of conveyor system and an adapter ability to an auto turret and set the conveyor filter up to say, hey, if the auto turret's uh, this or lower, then feed more ammo into it. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets added with this system, given it's still actively in development. Like, for instance, yesterday we couldn't attach the adapter to a small furnace, but today we can. And yesterday you couldn't daisy chain the boxes with adapters together to one conveyor, and now today you can. So it's all to say, by the time this goes live February 2nd, we might be able to add the adapters and automatically feed ammo to auto turrets.
Is there any indication that the dev team is concerned about the implications of this update, walled off loot and TCs?
Yeah, that is a valid question. And it has occurred to me is like, how is this going to change the meta of base building and raiding? And is it going to be too overpowered, especially allowing groups to make more like unraidable bases where you can kind of just get to the facade of crap, maybe a couple drop boxes that feed you some syringes or something, but to get into the main loot rooms is next to impossible. That is a valid concern, and I don't know how specifically to speak to that. I'd say the system as a whole is still in active development, so it's way too soon to come to any finalized conclusions with it. And I'll just say I do have faith in the developers to maintain the semblance of balance in the game. So I can't imagine they're going to release the system in a way that's going to make it easy for large groups to make literally unraidable bases. But we'll have to see because it's still a work in progress and it's not ready to go live in the game for another couple weeks.
Can you use this on mixing tables as well?
At the moment, it doesn't look like you can use it on mixing tables, but that's another thing like the auto turrets that I wouldn't be surprised if you could add an adapter in the near future to a mixing table.
Do you need TC auth to request? Like, if getting raided, can they just request my stuff?
I guess it would really depend on how you have it set up. If you have it set up so where it's just like a button you click and that button delivers all your loot to wherever you are and someone gets access to that button, well, you're probably going to be screwed. So you might not want to set it up in that fashion. But yeah, this does, if you don't think about it properly, when you're setting the system up, say you have something that does feed you your your kits to the front of your base. If someone gets to the front of your base and just keeps collecting your kits and waiting for new kits to be crafted and then collecting them, they could really drain you without going very deep into your base. But that's all about how you set it up, right? So you can set mins and maxes on the conveyors, and I'm sure you could do some clever stuff with the electrical system and everything um, to set up fail safes with that. I'm thinking about the heartbeat detector, things like that. Um,
With a switch or a
Yeah.
button, you need TC auth, so it would be beneficial to make you have to press a button or a switch to deliver
That's
things
it,
to the
yeah.
front.
oh, good call. Yeah, definitely.
And also, you couldn't just find like part of someone's automation and set a new pipe that piped all the loot out to the front if you didn't have TC. You've got to have TC access to join everything up.
Yeah, so TC is critical with the system, and not having it will limit your ability to, have just set it up so all the things are just piped directly to you.
Yeah. How much is the resource output for electric furnace compared to a regular, oh God, regular small furnace?
Now, we were having some trouble testing the electric furnace because it was a little wonky the other day when we were testing. Is that been improved, Cobalt? And have we gotten a chance to kind of uh,
It's
get a sense of that?
it's still pretty wonky, but my initial feeling, I haven't like written down numbers and timed it and stuff, is that it's about the same as the small furnace, only
Yeah.
it uses electricity and doesn't create charcoal.
Cool.
That's it.
So is it force wipe today?
It is not Force Swipe today. Force Swipe was just last week, actually. And so we've got another 3 weeks until the next Force Swipe, which is coming on February 2nd. And that is when this industrial system appears to be going live. In the meantime, this industrial system is on the aux 2 branch. And I do want to invite everyone listening to join up because you can join and start playing with this stuff if you want. To do so, just go to your Steam library, right click on Rust Staging, go to Properties, and then the Betas tab, and then you can select aux 2 from there. It'll run a client update real quick, and then you can join up and join a server that has these industrial items available.
One sec. How far can you pipe away from the base and can you destroy the pipes?
So the pipes have similar thresholds to the wire tools and the hose tools, which, what was that, 30 meters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the limit of the pipes. It's the same limitations you're going to run into with running water or electricity.
That's
So
it.
if the pipes are outside the base, will people like if someone jump over the wall, would they be able to like kill the pipes and stuff? I think that's
No, not at the moment. At the moment, they can't be affected, but we have to remember that it's a work in progress, so that may not be the case later.
Yeah, so as it stands, you can't go and hatchet a pipe to ruin the pipe. Maybe that'll be changed, but if you think about that, you can't do that with electricity or hoses at the moment. So and the pipe system is really from the looks of it, from a development standpoint, it looks to be just a clone essentially of the hose and the wire tool.
That's it. But some of the components do have HP, and they can be affected, but they can't be affected with normal ammo. It would have to be Explo or something else.
Yeah, good call.
do you think they're gonna do it to what is it called? The barbecue, so we can cook food as well?
I think that would really make sense having some automation around cooking.
Put food into the fridge
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah, I think that would totally make sense.
Yeah.
And yes, you can rotate the industrial combiner and the splitter by pressing R. Also with the adapter, with especially like the large wood storage, you can place the adapter on a couple different sockets. So you have some flexibility depending on how your boxes and how your loot room is laid out, whether you want to put the adapter on the top or on the side or on the front, type of thing. So yeah, there is some flexibility, and that is another thing that was just added earlier in the week. So we may see some further additions to this or improvements to that. Any other questions, Shadow?
Oh, I did not. I pushed the wrong button. Yes, I was reading it out. What's the HP of the industrial branches parts?
So
At the
yeah,
minute,
can we get a quick rundown of that, Artemis?
storage adapters don't have H to be these guys and these guys here. So the what's this one again? The conveyor, the splitter, the combiner. The storage adapter does not. Yeah, so all 200 at the moment, but not sure if that's just a placeholder or what, to be fair.
Cool, and good question. Do the pipes block your movement, or do you just walk through them? Yeah, cool. So very much like the wires and the hoses.
Yeah, completely. So you see here, the only thing that's affecting me is the combiners.
Where exactly do these industrial components fall on the workbench tree? Will we find them out of barrels?
Are these showing up? Some of these things, as we were writing the article yesterday, weren't yet on the tech tree. Are they on the tech tree today?
I don't believe so, no, not at the moment.
And that, I think, is still part of the work in progress. I really think the crafting costs and the placement on the tech tree is still something they're getting flat. So as of today, I don't think we can answer that for you because it's just not developed yet.
How much electricity does each component require in order to operate?
And this is still one of those work in progress things. Not only were we having some wonkiness with the electricity, isn't that correct, Artemis?
Yeah, that's correct. Not only a bit of wonkiness, but I think at the moment everything is just one. So I don't think it's going to be the case. It's just, again, it's just sort of a placeholder for now.
Yeah, yeah. So the exact uh, rust watts needed and everything to run this stuff is still yet to be determined.
Let's do a recap, and maybe in the meantime, we get more questions.
Cool. And once again, if you have any questions, feel free to do @shadow_rustified in chat. And before we do a recap on this industrial stuff, I do want to talk a little bit about other stuff going on in development. Specifically, there is work on RC drones and RC auto turrets. And if you're not familiar, RC means remote controlled. So that's a remote controlled drone and remote controlled auto turret coming in at some point. Probably the drones are going to be used for just observation and stuff, reconnaissance. But we're keeping a close eye on that, and it's going to be interesting. Also, weapon racks are making some good progress. So it looks like maybe for February, we might see some weapon racks come in. Once again, those weapon racks are going to be pretty cool and have a great utility because my sense of it is you'll place it in the base and then it'll actually show a visual representation of all the weapons in there. And you can just go point at the weapon to pull it out into your hotbar instead of going into an inventory. And likewise, when you're trying to add something to the weapon rack, you can just throw a weapon in the general direction of the weapon rack and the weapon rack will like suck it up. So that's going to be pretty cool. We're keeping an eye on those weapon racks. Looks like chat emojis are also going to make their way in for the in-game chat. We'll have emojis soon. Yeah, that'll be what it is. And looks like there's procedural bunker dungeons being worked on as well. We don't have much information on that, but we're keeping a close eye on that. And they've done a couple different fixes and everything as well. But let's get back to this industrial stuff. Let me give a little recap here. And then once again, if you have any questions, shadow_rustified in chat. So the industrial system is on aux 2 now. And aux 2 is the place for the bleeding edge of development. And that's very much what the case with this industrial system is because it's actively being developed. we're seeing changes, multiple changes every day, and new things being added and things being tweaked. So as we go through this, this is just a representation of what is the state of the game now, or even like yesterday, because that's when we really wrote this article. Things are changing all the time, basically. And as we get closer to this going live on February 2nd, we're going to update. We've got a full article on rustified.com with an overview of this industrial system. I'm going to do my best over the couple weeks before this goes live to, as they change things in the commits, to update this article so that it's an accurate representation of what you can expect with the industrial system. But from a like broad perspective, what this industrial system allows is for players and groups to automate transferring of items, crafting of items, smelting of items, and more. It really opens up a world of possibilities for base automation that have never before been possible. So it's really interesting to see what this allows for. And let me just give another recap summary of the main components of this industrial system. And from that, you'll get a sense of what is possible here. So, first and foremost, we have the industrial conveyor. And this is like the engine of the whole industrial system. The conveyor is the thing that allows you to move items from one place to another. And on top of just moving items from one place to another, it allows you to set filters with min and max amounts, and filters on specific items and filters on categories. So you can say just take weapons or take clothing and move it there. So really robust. It does require electricity. The electricity is still being developed, so it doesn't require much electricity at the moment, just 1 watt. But we do think that's going to change. But the conveyor to run does require electricity. And then you set the filters and you just basically hook it up to adapters. I'm going to cut forward to adapters real quick because that is another core piece of this. The adapter is really the thing that allows you to communicate or interact, so to speak, with all the various other elements in your base. So an adapter has an input and an output, and basically you add it to large boxes, small boxes, furnaces, tool cupboards, drop box, fridge, locker, vending machine, oil refinery, or coffins. And you put this adapter on there, and then with the pipe tool, you can pipe it to other elements. And so what we've got is one of those other elements is the industrial crafter. The industrial crafter is basically placed on a workbench, and you can place it on any level of workbench. And then the idea is you give it a blueprint, and then you give it resources, and you supply it with power. And then when turned on, it basically just crafts whatever that blueprint is, providing the workbench you've attached the crafter to is at the level or above the level of whatever it is you are crafting. And this can be tied in with the rest of the system, of course, so you can automatically have boxes that feed into that feed the resources into the crafter, and then have conveyors and boxes that take the crafted items and feed them somewhere else in the base. To get a blueprint, you currently just get it from a research table like you would get any other blueprint. The other thing that we've seen change here is you can get certain default blueprints now too from a research bench, like gunpowder, for instance. So if you wanted to have the autocrafter just craft gunpowder, you could say have a sulfur ore drop box at the front of your base, have a conveyor that feeds that to your electric furnace to smelt and turn that into sulfur, and then from there you could feed it right in uh, to the autocrafter, and then from out you could feed it to wherever you want. You could even feed the gunpowder from one autocrafter to another autocrafter that then starts crafting ammunition or something. So really the sky's the limit with this stuff. Now, next we also have the electric furnace, and this is just like the normal furnaces. It looks like it's pretty much a clone of the small furnace and how it works and what it produces, but instead of running off of wood as fuel and then producing charcoal, it just runs on electricity. And of course, you can add an adapter to this as well to control the input of the items and the output of items. And you just provide electricity, and you can turn the electricity on and off and control what you're smelting and when. And just keep in mind the main difference with this versus a normal furnace is it doesn't run on wood, and it doesn't produce charcoal. It just runs on electricity. And once again, the electricity numbers are still not fully developed, it doesn't look like. So we don't have final numbers on how much electricity and all that stuff. Now, next we have the pipe tool, which is really the thing that connects all this stuff together. It behaves just like the hose tool and the wire tool. In fact, from a development standpoint, it was pretty much just like cloned and then modified, it looks like. So it's still got the max length of 30 meters. It still has the ability to go through walls. You can also hold R and change the color of the pipes. The pipes are a bit thicker than wires and hoses, as you would imagine, because the idea is they're piping actual items through, but you can do a lot with it. And if you've wired any electricity or any hoses before, then you're going to be right at home with this pipe tool. And then we also have splitters and combiners, industrial splitter and industrial combiner. And those do exactly what you would think. It either takes, for the splitter, it can take one uh, output pipe and split it into 3 pipes. And then with the combiner, it takes 3 pipes and just turns it into 1 pipe. And you can use that for various different applications of this industrial system. And with that, Cobalt, do you want to quickly share again some of the examples that we have here, just for anyone who might have just tuned in?
Yeah, sure. So starting at the end over here, what I have going on is just a single box going into a conveyor that moves stuff into a sealed TC. This is just to show that you can move items through walls, and if everybody's off on the TC and everything's fine there, you no longer need to have a door getting in and out of your TC. Moving on here, this is a really basic auto smelting system where I have 3 boxes, one with wood, one with metal ore, and one with sulfur ore. And with conveyors and splitters and combiners and the like, I can put in the wood and like sulfur and metal required for the furnace to smelt it. And then after it's been smelted, it will move it all the way back here into a box of completed cooked ore. The next one that I have here to show is kind of twofold. One shows that you can daisy chain boxes up to 16 and then have one conveyor connected to it. And that way the conveyor has access to the inventories of all 16 boxes. And then I have the conveyor set up to filter for a few specific items for, you know, like a kit that I'd want. Oh, this one has stuff in it, but you take it out so there's nothing in the box. You hit a switch, and then the wooden box gets the few items needed, so you have a full kit. So you could have that like close to the front of your base or something, and then when you're getting ready to leave, you hit a button, you get your kit to go out with. And the next ones I think are Artemis's.
That's right, yeah. So it's just an example of how you can automate your boxes to contain what you want them to contain, basically, with lockers this time. You can keep them full of kits. So you could have the other side, so you could have your auto crafting of these items, things like meds and kits, and then put the lockers. And I've got it set up in such a way that if one item is taken out of any of the lockers, then it will just pull it through and refill it for you. And then over here, it's just a really, really basic form of the auto crafter for meds. So again, what I did a second ago is actually
Artemis, we're getting, sorry to pop over you, but I'm seeing a couple people say they can't hear you. So I don't know if you can on the fly turn up your volume a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Is that any better? Hopefully that'll be a bit better.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Do let me know if not. Hopefully, yeah. So with this one, it's the most basic form of auto crafting. Really, I've got the raw mats here. It's connected to the crafter. We've given the crafter a BP for a med, and then it's popping all the meds into the new box. I think while one of you guys was talking a minute ago, I also just set up the fact that you could kind of have a visual representation. So if you do run out of anything in particular and it can't pass materials through, you could set it up so that it'll let you know as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Artemis, for going through those.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, and once again, I see chat. There's a lot of skeptics in chat. I get it. This could really buff groups in a big way and could create some imbalance in the game. I see the possibility of that. And once again, I trust in the developers of the game that they're not going to release, or at least let stand for a long time, some sort of vast imbalance created by this industrial system. So what I'm really focusing on is the quality of life that this automation can provide to not just groups but individuals, uh, with everything they're doing around the base. It really looks awesome to me, just personally.
I guess it would also boost solo play a little bit with the crafting automatically.
Yeah, I think it could, and with feeding stuff deep into your base automatically, with the conveyors and the filtration system being able to get uh, a a kit like just with the press of a button, that's something that individuals can set up as well, and that can be a game changer for everybody, really.
Do you want to take some more questions before?
Yeah, let's do a couple more. We got 10 more minutes.
Yes. Do the adapters change the hitbox of the boxes?
Good question. Can we maybe test that real quick and see?
Yeah, very well. I actually did. Yeah, no, the adapters don't. They're not sort of something you can interact with at the moment. Thing that isn't of the new things.
Yeah, so the adapters kind of just sit there but have no real hitboxes or collision and no health, and really just they become kind of, from my sense of it, they just become kind of part of the large wood box. So I imagine if you destroy a large wood box, that adapter
That's
and
it.
the pipe just goes away, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Does all the new components need tech trash to craft?
Some do, but and some don't. Like the combiner takes metal frags and the splitter takes metal frags, but then the storage adapter takes one tech trash and three high quality metal at the moment. But I feel like that's not the final numbers for crafting, especially the ones that take tech trash. That seems a little imbalanced, that some would take one thing and others take the other thing. So I think we're going to see some changes to the crafting costs here. I think we're going to see changes to the electrical requirements or electricity requirements. And I think we're going to see a bunch of tweaks and changes with a bunch of other things. And we might see some more objects that can have a storage adapter added to it, like auto turrets, and also the idea of allowing this industrial system to hook up to barbecues and to enable for the cooking of food, I think is something that's very likely in the future. But really, where we're at right now, it's very much a work in progress and literally changing every day on the aux branch. So, or I should say aux 2 branch. So that is why over the coming weeks prior to this going live in the game on February 2nd, we're going to be working our best to keep this article up to date so that you as a player can have a good sense of how this is working when it's launched. And we're of course going to have another couple update preview streams between now and then. And depending on what else is going on in Rust development, we'll probably at least once be back on the aux 2 branch showing this stuff off prior to it going live and giving you an update on what's changed and what has been modified. And I really do think those crafting costs are likely going to be tweaked. And no mixing table yet. That keeps getting asked, but you can't add it
Yeah.
to the mixing table yet. But good question, and it would make sense. So I do think we will probably will see the storage adapter be able to be added to a couple more items.
Is there a Rustafied server to test it? I never used staging brands before, but can't find server to spawn the items.
Yeah, we unfortunately don't have a staging server that has a mod to allow everyone to spawn items and play with. I have played with the idea of setting up a server like that, but we've never done that. I do think there are some servers out there that probably provide that though. Are you guys aware of any?
Not a fan, to be
No.
honest. I usually mess around on my own one, but unfortunately.
I don't know any that's on aux 2.
Yeah, I don't know any that's on aux 2 at the moment, unfortunately, but it may be best just to run your own server locally.
Yeah, so people cannot test this themselves on AUX2 now, right?
I mean, you technically can, but you're going to have to gather the resources and go through a bunch of rigmarole, because unless the server allows every player to just spawn things in. But unfortunately, we don't have a server that allows that. I'll talk to my systems team this week and see if it's low hanging fruit where we could set something like that up. Because although normally in normal months of development, something like that isn't really called for. I see how this month in particular it would be really great to have a server where you can just spawn things in and really just sandbox this stuff to see how you might want to use it once it goes live. So I'll look into that and see if it's feasible for us to set something like that up.
Do the electric furnaces give off comfort and what is the range? They do. It's the same as before though. It didn't change as far as I
Cool.
can see.
And yeah, for anyone just tuning in and wondering, hey, when's all this stuff coming in? Yes, this is, according to the dev blog last week from Facepunch, this is slated to come in for the February 2nd update. So, February update is going to be the industrial system update and does appear to be the launch of all this stuff into vanilla gameplay and modded gameplay. So, basically, any server you're playing on come February 2nd, it does look like these items will be included. Now, of course, all of this is subject to change. They might push it back or something like that. But as it stands now, based on the communication from Facepunch, this is all going live February 2nd, which is what, 3 weeks from today.
Give me a sec. What is a weapon rack?
A weapon rack is a new addition that isn't testable yet, but it's going to be a new deployable that you can craft. Based on the commits, it looks like there might be multiple sizes, a large, medium, and small, but not confirmed. But we are seeing more progress on the weapon racks, and it's going to be basically what it sounds like. It's a rack for storing weapons. Now, what's going to be cool about this, because I can tell you're probably like, why the hell would I not just put that in a box? What the hell is the difference? Well, the idea with the weapon rack is that if you want to put a weapon in it, you can just toss the weapon, like drop it and toss it in the general direction, and the weapon rack will suck it up. And if you want to grab a weapon off the rack, I believe the idea is there's going to be a visual representation for each weapon on the rack such that you can look at the weapon you want and pull it directly off the rack without having to go into any inventory UI screens. So that's the idea as far as I have it with weapon racks. This was something that was started as a hack week project at the end of last year. And it looks like that and the chat emoji hack week project are going to be the two hack week projects that are eventually going to make it into the game, maybe in February, but that remains to be seen as it's not yet merged into any of the aux or staging branches.
Are there a limitation to what you can craft with the industrial crafter?
There are some limitations. Like, so for instance, if you're thinking about default blueprint items, like gunpowder, that would be a big thing you'd want to autocraft, right? But up until now, because it's a default blueprint, you're not dealing with gunpowder blueprints. But you can actually, with on the aux 2 branch, go to a research table now and research a gunpowder blueprint. That said, you can't research a torch blueprint. So the limitation with the autocrafter is really in the realm of default crap that you really wouldn't ever want to autocraft anyway, most likely. And once again, all subject to change, but it looks like they did account for most of the objects and items you would want to craft with the autocrafter. It looks like you will be able to if you have the right resources and workbench level attached to your autocrafter.
Do you think this will speed up the process for larger groups for raiding, like making boom while running around PvP and farming? And will it cost a lot to craft these massive systems?
Well, I think it definitely stands to give an advantage to people who utilize the system, right? And it does stand to reason that the more people you have working, the more advantage you're going to have. And that's always been the case in Rust. There's always going to be, if you got a 30-man Zerg, you're going to have the advantage over a 2-man group. And the addition of this stuff is no different. Now, as far as the crafting is concerned, as it stands, it looks like it's placeholder numbers for the crafting, but let's just go through. The industrial conveyor is 150 metal frags to craft. The industrial crafter is 3 high quality metal and 1 tech trash at the moment to craft. The electric furnace is 200 stone, 100 wood, and 50 low grade to craft. Pipe tool, 2 high quality metal. Storage adapter is 3 high quality metal and 1 tech trash. That seems a little expensive to me. And the splitter and combiner are 75 metal frags to craft. That's the crafting amounts as it stands now. I do once again think they're likely going to change. Especially, I imagine the tech trash is going to be removed from the required ingredients, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe part of the balance of this and how to make it so it's not really super overbalanced is the prohibitive cost of certain items, such that it is harder for groups to build out these complex systems. I don't know.
Just wanted to see the next one. There it is. Could the industrial furnace not be used to craft charcoal if only wood is put in it?
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't actually put wood in it at the moment, just oils to smelt.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that,
Yeah.
and that would make sense. Not for nothing, but at the moment, yeah, it won't take wood input, so you're still going to need to use a traditional furnace to generate your charcoal. However, the good news is, just like you can set up the electric furnace for this industrial stuff by attaching an adapter, you can attach an adapter to a small regular furnace, a large regular furnace as well. And with that adapter, you can tie in the conveyors and the pipes and have this whole industrial system set up where a conveyor is feeding the raw material into the furnace and including the wood for burning it. And then on the output of that furnace adapter, you could be pulling everything off into their individual organized loot. The other thing is you can take certain resources straight out of the furnace into and put it into, an auto crafter bin for ingredients for auto crafting stuff. So you can literally take raw materials, put them in one place, and have this system turn it into a finished product like medical syringes or what have you.
Does the electric furnace cook faster than a normal furnace?
It looks like the cooking is on par with a normal size furnace. And same thing with the comfort it's putting off. It looks to be on par with a regular furnace.
Is there going to be any new monuments, you think?
I do believe there are some new monuments being worked on. There was that nuclear silo being worked on. And also, it looks like there's some procedural bunker dungeons coming as well. And I don't know if that's not really necessarily considered a monument, but definitely some new points of interest on the map are forthcoming.
Can you connect it to a vending machine like an auto refill situation?
Yeah, you can connect it to a vending machine. We were even playing with the idea of utilizing this, and it may be a little over engineered, but you could hypothetically have a vending machine that changes its inventory out, say, every half hour and cycles between a couple different inventories. You could literally do that automatically with electricity and this industrial stuff.
Interesting. And again, when is all this coming out?
And once again, this is coming out as it stands now, slated for 3 weeks from today on the February 2nd update. That is when the devs have said they are going to release this. And it's still very much a work in progress. Take it all with a grain of salt. I do understand the hesitation from a lot of people in the audience on, oh, fuck, this is just going to be a huge buff for big groups. And I'm never going to use this. And it's just going to make big groups' lives better. And I'm holding out judgment. It's still very early in the development cycle. It's not going live for another 3 weeks. And I do fall back, given I've been tracking development of this game for going on 10 years now, I have learned to trust in the developers to balance the game and not drastically unbalance the game. And if they do release an update that's drastically out of balance, then they patch it pretty quickly. So I'm not too worried about this. In fact, I'm really excited about this. I think this is a game changer for everyone, not just large groups, for quality of life and automation in your bases. I think this is going to be a really cool addition.
Speaking of, we got a raid. Cosmopolian underscore just rated us with almost 1165 people, and
Oh,
we got a
cool.
raid earlier from Captain Rated as
Oh
well.
yeah.
Ah, well, thank you guys for the raids and welcome everybody. we are coming to our normal end time here, but I feel like if we just got rated, maybe I should do a quick overview again. Are you guys good with hanging on for another 10, 15 minutes?
Sure, and just a very quick addition. We noticed that there possibly be a new mask this year for the Chinese New Year as well. Just a
Oh,
small thing.
yeah. There is Chinese New Year. What is that? The 22nd of this month, right? The Lunar New Year?
I believe so, yep.
Cool. So there will be Lunar New Year stuff coming up. I don't know if there's going to be an update to release that. Probably there will be an update, I'm guessing next week. But we do have Lunar New Year stuff coming soon. And yeah, let me do a quick recap of this industrial stuff for the new people who joined us. Basically, the industrial system is now on aux 2. You can join and play with it a bit. I do recommend if you were going to do that you host your own server, just run your own aux 2 server locally, so you can have admin and spawn things in, because it's going to be a pain in the ass to try to harvest and gather everything to test this stuff out. But it is available for testing on aux 2 now. It is slated to go into the game on February 2nd, 3 weeks from today, with the Force Swipe. What this industrial system does is allows for players and groups to automate the transferring of items across their base, the crafting of items, the smelting of items, and more. It's got a couple main key components. The industrial conveyor is really the engine of the whole thing. This is the thing that allows you to move one object from one place to another. In its simplest form, you'd basically take a conveyor and run it from the adapters on 2 boxes, and you put something in one box and it just gets transferred to the other box. And you could imagine something like a drop box in the front of your base that then just transfers everything into a part deeper and more secure in your base. Now, where it gets interesting is you can also add filters for items or categories on that conveyor. So you can say, take any clothing items or take just syringes and send them. You can also add min and max amounts. So you can say, only start transferring these syringes if there's X amount in here, or stop transferring these syringes when there's X amount at the destination spot. So there's a lot of control and dynamicism you can create with just this industrial conveyor. And that's why it's kind of the engine of this industrial system. Now, the next thing I'm going to skip down to is the adapter, because the adapter is what you use to sync up or hook up all your existing deployables to this industrial system. So the adapter can be added to a bunch of different deployables, including large wood box, small furnace, large furnace, electric furnace, tool cupboard, drop box, fridge, locker, vending machine, small oil refinery, and coffins. So the adapter has an input and an output. You can also daisy chain these adapters together. So if you look at our one example, we have 16 boxes daisy chained together with adapters, all just hooked up to one conveyor. And what that allows us to do is we can have whatever we want in any of these boxes with no order. And then with the conveyor filter, we can say, just pull out a syringe, a gun, and like a kit, for instance, and hook that up to a button. Then when we press a button, the small box just fills with that kit, pulling those items from any of those 16 boxes wherever they may be. So that's why the storage adapter is really a key component in this industrial system, because it is the adapter that allows you to feed in and pull out of various items, including your boxes, tool cupboard, furnaces, etc. Next, you have the pipe tool, and that's what wires all this stuff together. It's a clone of the hose tool and the wire tool. So if you've ever done electricity or water management in Rust, you'll be right at home with this pipe tool. And it has the same limitations, a 30 meter, I should say, max length, and you can pull it through walls, and you can change the color by holding R. And then the next component we have is the auto crafter. And the auto crafter is basically just what it sounds like. You provide it with a blueprint and the ingredients, and then turn it on with electricity. And then it will just, as long as it has the ingredients to craft, it'll just keep crafting that item. It attaches to a workbench, and you do have to attach it to a workbench level that's in line or above the item blueprint that you want to craft. To come up with the blueprint, you just go to a research bench and get a blueprint as you normally would get any blueprint by researching. You can also research some lower tier default blueprints like gunpowder now through the research table with this. I don't know if this blueprint shit I was going to say is going to shift, but I don't know if this blueprint shit is going to shift or not. There's like a blueprint input and a blueprint output on the industrial crafter, which I think is interesting, and we're not quite sure how that's going to work, but it does look like you'll be able to automate a whole bunch when it comes to crafting, including what resources and blueprint you feed into the crafter. So at one point, maybe you could be crafting syringes, and then you could flick a switch and it swaps the blueprint and the ingredients and starts crafting something completely different. Once again, still a work in progress. So I don't think we can exactly do that now, but it does look like that's where this is going. Also, we have an electric furnace, and this is just like a small normal furnace, but instead of running on wood and producing charcoal, it just runs on electricity and doesn't produce any charcoal, but it provides the comfort and smelts things at about the same level that we're seeing a small furnace does. And of course, you can hook up this furnace to an adapter as well. So you can feed in the raw ingredients and then have them output through a filter or on the conveyor to various other places. And so if you're grasping all this, what you can see is the ability to do a ton of different automations, including all the way up into the point of technically you could just go gather raw resources, drop them into one drop box using conveyors and filters, have them go out to the furnaces to smelt automatically. And then from the furnaces, once processed, they could go into auto crafters, auto craft whatever items you want, and then from there be fed into lockers or drop boxes or whatever. So really it seems like at a certain level here you can automate most of what you'd be doing in a base. I mean, really, that's what this is looking like. So quite a game changer to say the least. Still a work in progress. We're still seeing changes and stuff every day. I do invite you to hold out your judgment and saying, like, oh, this is awful. This is going to ruin the game. I don't know how many times we've been here showing off a thing on staging, and the majority of the chat is, oh my God, this is going to ruin the game. Dead game. This is it. This is the nail in the coffin. And then, sure enough, we're here still years later, uh, seeing huge amounts of players in the game. So I fall back on trusting the developers not to ruin the fucking game, even if it looks like something potentially could. And that's where I stand. And we got 3 more weeks before this goes live. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on what tweaks and modifications they do with this system. We've got an article on rustafied.com that provides an overview of all this stuff. And we're going to be doing our best to update that over the coming couple weeks prior to this going live on February 2nd, so that you as a player can have a good idea of what you're going to utilize this system for and how you can utilize it once it goes in the game. And with that, any final questions we want to cover before we wind this puppy down here?
Yeah. So if you can connect it to the TC, does that mean rip decay?
Well, let me put it this way.
Depends how much you stack your boxes.
Yeah, it really depends on how you set it up, but I mean, yeah, you can put a TC somewhere behind a wall, providing everyone you want has access to it, and then feed a pipe through and have it set up to just feed the resources. And using the filters on the conveyor, you could say, hey, once this there's this many or less resources in the TC, send some more through. That's what you one of the things you can do with the system. Yeah.
Do you think with this new system you will be able to stack boxes?
I'm not sure what you mean. You can daisy chain boxes together and then pull like it's all coming from one box. You can see that's one of our examples here. We got 16 boxes with adapters all daisy chained together with pipes all going to one conveyor. And that one conveyor with the filters we have set on it will pull from all those boxes. So I don't know if that's what you meant by stacking or if you mean actually physically just deploying one box on top of
Easy
each
to
other.
stack boxes in inventory, maybe? Not sure.
But yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to like physically deploy boxes on boxes on boxes with this change, but you can daisy chain them together with these adapters.
And I assume more people came in because can the industrial be used to make charcoal?
As it stands now, yes, you can. It's the electric furnace doesn't make charcoal, but with this industrial stuff and the adapters specifically, you can hook the adapters up to large and small furnaces. So with the adapter, with the conveyors and adapters on the furnaces hooked up properly, you can feed in all the supplies, including wood, to your furnaces, and then you can pipe them out, including the charcoal, to somewhere else. And you could pipe the charcoal out to a box that has some more ingredients that then is hooked up to an auto crafter to craft various things utilizing that charcoal, if that makes sense.
What's the rate of resources times tick transferred? And does the speed change depending on resource transferred?
This is a question that I tried to answer in my article, but I couldn't because it's changing often. It changed like 3 times based on my testing in the past couple of days since I've uh, been playing with it. So I'm not comfortable giving a speed or a tick at which it moves everything because I don't know that that's finalized yet. I'm not confident enough in what's going on that it's finalized yet. That said, it seems to move things at a pretty decent tick, right? Like it's you're not waiting around for too long for things to come through, right?
Yeah, not too long.
And I saw a few mothers ask it if I can't talk, if it's force wipe today.
No, it is not Force Swipe today. The Force Swipe was last week, and the Force Swipe is always the first Thursday of every month. And so it was just last week on the 5th of January. And now the next Force Swipe is 3 weeks from today on the 2nd of February. And it's set to come out at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT. And that is, as it stands now, slated to be the industrial system update. And so we've got another 3 weeks of development of this industrial system on aux 2. And then it looks like if all goes to plan, February 2nd, all this industrial system goes live in the game.
I think that's it.
Cool. And yeah, I think we'll wind it down here. Once again, I'm really excited about this. This is for sure a game freaking changer. And I understand people's hesitation but I do invite you to hold out judgment because I really think this is going to be an awesome addition to the game. And I trust in the devs not to like royally fuck the game up. So I think this is going to be really cool. I'm excited to see how it progresses over the next couple of weeks. We will keep rustified.com, the article industrial system overview, updated the best we can as things change. And of course, we're going to be back for another at least 2 update preview streams between now and when the update comes out. And depending on development, we'll probably be here from the aux 2 branch at least once more prior to the update coming out. So we'll keep you up to date with as things are changing and being tweaked with the system. And then make sure you have a full rundown prior to February 2nd and this update going live on what this system is and how you as a player and a group can utilize it. So a huge thank you to everyone for tuning in as always. Uh, just a friendly reminder, we're not the developers of the game and we're not on the Face Punch payroll. We're just an independent organization made up of fans of the game who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. And the only way that we can do that is through the support of the community. So to everyone who tunes in and watches, to people who give bits and subscribe on Twitch, thank you to the people who rated us, and also to our wonderful, beautiful VIP customers. Thank you all so very much because without your support, we literally wouldn't be able to do what we do, show up every week and run the servers that we do. And so thank you to everyone for the support. Thank you to my co-MCs as always, Artemis, Shadow, and Cobalt. Thank you guys for being here.
You're welcome.
Yep.
You're welcome.
And yeah, with that, we're going to wind this puppy down. We will be back next week to show off any changes and whatever else is going on in Rust development. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.